So the next concept called oogenesis. So far we have finished the spermatogenesis process and the regulation of spermatogenesis. Now we'll deal with the oogenesis. So oogenesis is the process of production of ovum or egg in the follicles of ovary is called as, yes, oogenesis. What it is? Oogenesis is the production of ovum or egg in the follicles of ovary is called as oogenesis. The same step they undergo, the first step, that is multiplication phase or phase of multiplication, growth phase, and the third step, that is maturation phase. But before going to the actual oogenesis, I would like to explain you the few things about spermatogenesis as well as oogenesis. So there is some slight difference between spermatogenesis and oogenesis. Spermatogenesis starts in humans, that is especially in the male individuals, that is after the puberty, means after the birth. During the puberty, the spermatogenesis starts. But regarding to the oogenesis, the production, that is especially the multiplication phase, okay, it starts during the embryonic development of the fetus, nearly or actually 7 months fetus, that is the end of trimester, the third semester, the end of the third semester, that is 7 month, the end of the 7th month. So what happens? There will be the multiplication phase, means within the fetus development only, the ovary of the fetus, the development of oogonia takes place. Okay, so soon after the birth, the oogonia, like the oogonia and the primary, that is growth phase, ceases till the puberty. Once the puberty attains, no, the growth phase will continue to the maturation phase. That what we call it as a menstrual cycle in us. Okay, so hence what happens, the oogonia will be decided, the number of oogonia, whereas in spermatogenesis we have seen the spermatogonial cells are renewed till the death in male individuals. But in female individuals, what happens? The number of the oogonial cells, the sex cells, are defined, that is before the birth only. After the birth, there is no multiplication of any oogonia. Hence, sometimes the oogonias are confined to 60,000 to 80,000. Okay, oogonias, which form the further process in the future of our life. But when they become empty, that 80,000, just imagine when the 80,000 will be completely empty, then we are going to face the menopause in our life, that is at the age of 45, 50 or 52 years. What happens at the age of 52 years? Within the 52 years, the menstrual cycle stops, means it indicates the egg production stops. Why the egg production stops? Because we know now the multiplication phase is always before the birth. After the birth, there is no more production of oogonia, where the number of oogonia will be confined now, fixed. So hence there is a stage where this oogonia will become empty in our body, like primary oocytes will become empty in our body, which in turn produces the egg. So this is what it is related, something points or some history related to spermatogenesis and oogenesis. So now we'll begin with the process oogenesis. So oogenesis already have told, at the time of fetus development there will be production of what? The sex cells, that is oogonial cells, and these oogonial cells are diploid in nature. Again, I am not going to write. Diploid means 46. Okay, this what happens? The production of oogonia, it is before birth, not after birth. Okay, next, these oogonia, now I'll take one oogonia as a representative. This oogonia, now they develop, they increase their size and they undergo growth. So this, what happens? By the process of mitosis, there will be multiplication of oogonia, and these phase we call it as multiplication phase. Okay, within this, after the birth, at the time of ovulation, okay, what happens? Or before the ovulation, means puberty. Before the puberty, they undergo growth phase. There is no division, that is growth phase, and this cell, now it is called as primary oocyte. Okay, yes, this primary oocyte, which is again diploid. Now this primary oocyte undergo meiosis 1. Okay, but sometimes here we can see a process called as meiotic arrest. Means this meiosis first will be arrested. When it is arrested, see, all the oogonial cell before birth, they multiply and there will be fixed number of oogonial cells. By the process called mitosis, by undergoing the cell division mitosis, they multiply themselves and form a fixed number of oogonial cells, and all the oogonial cells are converted into primary oocytes, means they undergo growth and yes, yeah. So from the birth till the puberty, they undergo growth phase, that is they are in the primary oocyte. Now what happens? Puberty means they need to attain the maturation. What happens? Maturation is nothing but we perform menstrual cycle. Okay, for menstrual cycle, as we know, there will be a one step called as ovulation, means release of egg from the ovary. Okay, so from the puberty birth till the puberty, there will be arrest, means primary oocyte will be at the static phase. They won't undergo any meiotic division. That meiotic division arrest is called as meiotic arrest, that is in the first meiosis. Okay, once they undergo puberty, that is, we can write here, after puberty, that is, we can write ovulation. Okay, they continue the meiotic process. The primary oocyte continue the meiotic process and they form one polar body, the first polar body, and one secondary oocyte. This is called as secondary oocyte, which is haploid in nature. Okay, this is haploid. You can write here also, no problem. And this is first polar body. There is unequal meiotic division and they form one small first polar body and another large secondary oocyte, which are haploid in nature. Okay, then what happens? Again they undergo the next division, that is meiosis 2. So here also they need to face a meiotic arrest at metaphase 2. Okay, first I'll write what happens if meiosis 2 takes place. If meiosis 2 takes place, then the first polar body forms the further two polar bodies. The secondary oocyte forms one polar body and one mature ovum. So these are three polar bodies which are haploid in nature and one mature egg, or this we call it as ovum or egg. Okay, so later I'll explain all the arrest thing. First you just understood, yes, at the time of fetal development the oogonial cells, they divide and they form into the fixed number. Okay, this oogonial cells, now they undergo growth phase, they increase in their size. Such oogonial cells, now it is called as primary oocyte, which is diploid in nature. This primary oocyte next undergo what? This we call it as, from here till ovum development, yes, maturation phase. Okay, so here what happens? The primary oocyte undergo first meiotic division and they form a first polar body, one polar body and one secondary oocyte. Both are haploid now because they have undergone meiosis. Next what happens? Both the polar body as well as the secondary oocyte undergo second meiotic division to form three polar bodies and one egg, that is one mature ovum. How the three polar bodies are formed? Two are from the first polar body, one from the secondary oocyte, because both they undergo division, they form four daughter cells, right? Within the four cells, the three are the polar bodies which are degenerated and one mature ovum will be left. How? Remember the sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Okay, what happens during megaspore development, megasporogenesis? Four megaspores are formed. Within that, three megaspores are degenerated and one megaspore remains functional. Here also, the three polar bodies which are formed, they get degenerated and one mature ovum or egg will be formed. This completes what? Maturation phase. Okay, now we'll study what happens before puberty, after puberty, everything. Okay, so oogonial cells development is before birth. Okay, after birth what happens? Okay, after birth, between the puberty, before puberty, after birth, there will be stage, right, where we are not going to perform the periods. That is from the birth till the age of 12 years. That is a stage, a pause stage. That pause stage is called as growth phase, where from the oogonial cells primary oocytes are formed. Okay, once the primary oocytes are formed, this is what there is a meiotic arrest, this arrest, that meiotic arrest will be breakdown. When the meiotic arrest will be continued, when we attain puberty, at the time of puberty, what happens? The stage which is arrested, that is primary oocyte, undergo meiosis 1, that they form secondary oocyte. Okay, that arrest will be released. When the arrest will be released? At the time of puberty. After the birth till the time of puberty, that is meiotic arrest. The primary oocyte haven't undergone the next meiosis. Okay, why? Because we haven't attained any puberty. ನಾವು ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಪ್ಯೂಬರ್ಟಿನ ಅಟೈನ್ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಮ್ಯಾಚುರೇಷನ್ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ oocyte ಏನು ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಗಿತ್ತು ಅದು ರೆಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇತ್ತು. ಪಾಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ಸಸ್ಪೆಂಡ್ ಆರ್ ಸಸ್ಪೆನ್ಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಅಂತೀವಿ, ಹೌದಾ? ಇಫ್ someone like they have done the illegal work, what they do, they suspend them for some time being, not permanently. Okay, not permanently, suspend for some time being. Here also, soon after the birth, the primary oocyte never going to, they are not going to convert directly into the secondary oocyte because of this arrest. When this arrest is cancelled, when we attain maturation, puberty, at the time of maturation, the primary oocyte get converted into secondary oocyte by undergoing meiosis 1. Once the secondary oocytes are formed, again they are going to undergo the suspension, that is again the meiotic arrest. At which stage? Metaphase 2. Remember, metaphase 2. Okay, then anaphase to telophase. How this arrest is continued? ಈ ಅರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಏನು ಮತ್ತೆ ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ oocyte ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಆದಾಗ ಅರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಯಾಕೆ ಇದು ಅರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, see here, meiotic arrest. Why? Because of at the secondary oocyte, if the secondary oocyte want to get converted into ovum, no, they need sperm. When the sperm will go and meet the secondary oocyte, then only the arrest will be ended. So ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಅರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಯಾವಾಗ ಹೇಳ್ರಿ? During the puberty. Before the puberty there is a first arrest. After the puberty we attain what? Yes, maturation, we start menstruating. What happens at the time? Secondary oocyte will be released. Remember, not egg will be released during the ovulation. Secondary oocyte will be released. ಯಾವಾಗ ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ oocyte ರಿಲೀಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ದೇ ಗೋ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಎಂಬೆಡೆಡ್ ಇನ್ ದಿ ಫೆಲೋಪಿಯನ್ ಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಫಾರ್ ಫರ್ಟಿಲೈಸೇಷನ್. ಇವಾಗ ಫರ್ಟಿಲೈಸೇಷನ್ ಆದಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಒಂದ್ಸಲ ಇನ್ಸೆಮಿನೇಷನ್ ಆಯಿತು, sperm will be entered from the vagina and they go near the egg to fuse. That egg is now called as secondary oocyte. It is not yet converted. Soon after the sperm meets the secondary oocyte, the arrest will be broken. Soon after, when the sperm will go and meet the egg, second meiotic arrest ಏನಿತ್ತು ಅದು ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Secondary oocyte undergo meiosis 2, means meiosis second, metaphase second ತನಕ ಏನು ಪಾಸ್ ಆಗಿತ್ತು ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. The secondary oocyte undergo anaphase 2, telophase 2 and they divide and they form egg. This egg production, egg ಈ ovum ಕನ್ವರ್ಷನ್ ಎಲ್ಲಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಫೆಲೋಪಿಯನ್ ಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಬಟ್ ಓವರಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ರಿಲೀಸ್ ಆಗುವಂಥದ್ದು ಯಾವುದು? ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ oocyte. So this is what the arrest thing, everything. Other thing are similar. ಎಲ್ಲಾನು ಸಿಮಿಲರೇ. ಮಲ್ಟಿಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ ಫೇಸ್ ಆಗುವಂಥದ್ದು, ಗ್ರೋತ್ ಫೇಸ್ ಆಗುವಂಥದ್ದು, ಮ್ಯಾಚುರೇಷನ್ ಫೇಸ್ ಆಗುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಡಿಫ್ರೆನ್ಸ್ ಏನು ಅಂದರೆ ದ ಟು ಅರೆಸ್ಟ್. meiotic first arrest, meiotic 2 arrest. This is the meiotic first arrest. This is meiotic second arrest. Okay, first arrest ಯಾವಾಗ ಪಾಸ್ ಆಗಿರುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಅರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಪಾಸ್. ಅದು ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಯಾವಾಗ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ? ಓವ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಪ್ಯೂಬರ್ಟಿ ಅಟೆಂಡ್ ಆದಾಗ ಪ್ರೈಮರಿಯಿಂದ ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಆಗುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಓಕೆ, ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ meiotic arrest ಯಾವಾಗ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ? Once the oocyte is released, secondary oocyte is released, they get embedded in the fallopian tube. fallopian tube ಗೆ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಯಾವಾಗ ಸ್ಪರ್ಮ್ ಬಂದು ಆ ಒಂದು ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ oocyte ನ ಕಾಂಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, when they connect, okay, what happens? They undergo, means they continue where it is stopped, pause ಎಲ್ಲಾಗಿತ್ತು ಆ ಸ್ಟೆಪ್ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ oocyte ಇಂದ ovum, that is egg ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗುವಂಥದ್ದು. Okay, once they converted into egg, the nucleus of sperm get fused with the nucleus of this egg. Fertilization takes place. zygote is formed. If it is implanted, that will lead to the pregnancy. If it is not, it will be menstruated. Okay, understood? This is what the oogenesis. Remember to mention the ploidy. Oogonal cells are diploid, primary oocytes are diploid, but secondary oocyte and ovum is haploid, and even the polar body is also haploid in nature.